Assalamu alaikum. Motivational speaker Sahil Ladim visited the UK this year, and 12 days ago, one of his videos was uploaded on YouTube, where, of course, as usual, he distorted a lot of facts, resorted to outright lies that cannot be substantiated through history. So, let me tell you um, or I would rather inform British Muslim about this guy because this is very unfortunate that we pay attention or heed to lectures of such peoples whose intellectual credibility is highly doubtful. So let me talk about this person's and this person's lies, the lies of Sahil Adeem. The first thing, again, videos for all these claims that I'm going to make are available on YouTube. You can watch yourself. And I have done separate videos on them as well. For instance, this guy Sahil Adeem said Ashraf Ali Thanvi wrote 1400 books with each carrying, 4 to 5 or 6 volumes consisting of 300 to 400 pages. So if you calculate, they might number around 1 million pages or at least more than 500,000 pages. Bertrand Russell, who was a prolific writer, he did not hit that number. Maulana Maududi himself was very prolific writer. Ibn Khaldun even would not have written that many pages. But this guy does not want to check facts. He does not want to carry out any research at all. Then he claimed that the Afghan Taliban demanded the release of Afia Siddiqui during the Doha Agreement. Now you can read Doha Agreement. It is available on US State Department website. Go through all the four parts and you would not find even a single mention of Afia Siddiqui there. But this guy does not bother to read it all. And then one of his videos that was also shared by Hashir Shah Saab, one of the Pakistani intellectuals, he said that 85% of world's inhabitants were ruled by Hazrat Umar. Again, this is an outright lie. Hazrat Umar is respected, and it is quite surprising that he is trying to attribute something which is historically incorrect. And when Muslims are paying heed and listening to guys like him intently, it does not leave very good impact. So during the time of Hazrat Umar, what we need to understand that China was not under Muslim control. India was not controlled by Muslims, and of course, the United States had not been discovered. Of it did exist. Entire Western Europe was not in Muslim control. The Muslim forces that arrived in Spain, that was in the early 8th century. They also arrived in the early 8th century in Pakistan, in Sindh. So the vast areas of known world of at that time, Turkey was not under Muslim control. So like Palestine, Lebanon, parts of Persian empires, Arabian Peninsula, and some other areas were under Muslim control. Of course, Hazrat Umar was a great person. Bertrand Russell said about him that Umar was to Muhammad what Lenin was to Marx. But we cannot exaggerate facts. We cannot resort lies because of the fact that he was a great person. Then, in the same video that was widely shared by Hashir Shah Sahib recently, he said that a companion of Prophet Muhammad, Abu Ubaidah, wrote a letter. He came all the way to Pakistan writing letter to Hazrat Umar. Again, there is no historical evidence. But this guy does not want to check historical evidence at all. He does not want to do any research at all. He quotes discredited books, conspiracy theories, and all that. So, British Muslim needs to know about that. Then, in some of his other videos, he talked about sky blasting in Germany. Again, many historians believe it was just a sort of superstition. There is no historical evidence, concrete historical evidence at least. He declared 95% Pakistani women illiterate. He believes that Sharia has been imposed in Afghanistan. Afghanistan, which is a graveyard of human rights, where girls cannot get education beyond their primary or their grade 6. Universities, colleges, medical colleges for girls have been shut down. So many restrictions have been put on them. They cannot venture out without a mahram, without a person. Then this guy believes that girls as old as 4 could be married off. He said they could be married off. The consummation might take place later on or whenever they are mature, but marriage can take place, or nikah can take place, or marriage contract can take place when uh, they are just 4 year old. Now the question is that how would you seek the consent of a girl? If he had said this in the UK or in Canada, then there would have been a lot of outcry, there would have been a lot of outrage. But since he knows that he can get away with anything in Pakistan, no one is going to question, and he's creating blind followers. That is going to be very disastrous. And so these are his thoughts. Then he firmly believes that women should be covered from head to toe. Again, this is one of the point of view. There are so many Islamic thinkers who believe that the veil, even the veil, the order of veil was given to the wives of prophet, and they cite a certain verse from the Holy Quran saying that it does not behoove you. The gist of that verse of the Holy Quran is that, oh, the wives of Prophet Muhammad, it does not behoove you to to laugh or to talk to strangers, things like that. So you can read Surah Azab about that. But he does that. He wants women to be in shuttlecock. He believes that music is haram. Again, there are people who believe that when Prophet Muhammad reached Medina, so the women of Medina greeted him with Tala al Badru alayna min saniyatil vidai wajaba shukra alayna mada lila hidai. So these are the arguments. So he does not want to listen. Then he said that secularism is against Islam, which he said during the London celebration as well. Now this guy does not know history at all. In Western world, we did have a religious government during the time of Isabella and Ferdinand, and other times as well. And what they did in reality, it was essentially a Roman Catholic government that kicked out Muslims, that kicked out Jews, that came hard on um, other denomination of Christianity. Later on, carrying out a military crackdown in Netherlands, which used to be one of the provinces of Spanish Empire in a way at that time, or Spanish administration at that time. So uh, there are Muslim thinkers who believe that Misak Medina or Contract of Medina reflects the essence of secularism, in which Prophet peace be upon him clearly said that Jews and all the members of that society enjoyed equal freedoms, equal religious rights. But this is one of Sahil Adeem's points of view, could be one of the points of view, but he just tries to create an impression that that is the only truth. In reality, we have historical documents, and which was written none other than Prophet peace be upon him himself, and he declared in that document, Contract of Medina, Misake Medina, that Jews have complete religious freedom. Now, today, from Darul Uloom Deoband in India to religious seminary or Darul Uloom Karachi in Pakistan, all the mullah agree that non-Muslims should not be given equal rights. They should be deprived of key government posts. They should be deprived of the post of prime minister and president, and they cannot make it to the highest echelon of power in the army. Uh, but we have examples in Al Andalusia and elsewhere where Jews made it to some senior post in some of the city state of Al Andalusia. So the question is that why do we need to listen to Sahil Adeem, or why do we need to buy his rhetoric when we have example of some Muslim rulers appointing Jews and Christians and other non-Muslim on key posts, And we have Betul Hikmah, or the House of Wisdom, during the time of the Abbasid, where Jews, Zoroastrians, Hindus, and other intellectuals, Christians, Jacobite, Maronite, the expert of Aramaic language, they were working together. And many also made it to highest echelon of power in Islamic governments. Like in India, you could see one of the top generals of Aurangzeb, he was Hindu. Similarly, Akbar's finance minister was a Hindu, and there were other Hindu officials as well. But this guy wants to create an impression that in an Islamic state, Muslims have complete domination, and they do not want to give equal rights to other members of that society. While we have Misaki Medina, or Contract of Medina, where Prophet, peace be upon him, granted complete religious freedoms to Jews and other members. So this is what we need to understand. Then suppose, and this is the venom of secularism, Sahil, Adeem is not the only one. Maulana Maududi, Dr. Israr, and many others, they would also spit venom against secularism. And they want to equate secularism to atheism, which is a complete lie. Secularism simply say that if you want to make it to high echelon of power, if you want to be prime minister, president, speaker of the National Assembly, if people vote for you, you can make it to parliament, you can make it to prime minister house. And we have seen that in the UK, in the British society, that Rishi Sunak, who was Hindu, he made it to the power corridors of London. He became the prime minister. Sadiq Khan is the mayor of London. Mamdani has recently won the election in New York. Now, imagine if there were a Christian government like the ones that we witness in history, established by Isabella and Ferdinand in Spain. Would Muslim have had the same rights? Would they still have been in a position to make it to these senior posts? That is next to impossible. Western society fought a lot in the name of religion. Naturally, there have been terrible wars during 18th century, starting from 1618 to ending, in 1648 with the Treaty of Westphalia, decimating more than 3 million people. Some estimates go as high as 8 million people. There have been instances where Catholic in France literally burned more than 5,000 or 10,000 Roman Catholic. In England, when Queen Mary came into power, she started persecuting Protestant, and the situation reversed when her rival made it to the royal position. In Germany, there have been terrible clashes between Protestant and Roman Catholic. So, after prolonged wars and civil conflicts, Western society decided that religion should be your private matter. Relationship between heart and God is religion. What is in your heart, nobody knows. What is in somebody else's heart, you do not know. So it should be a private matter. Secularism simply says that you are free to go to your church, your mosque, your temples, your synagogues. I mean, it is essentially what Qaeda Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah also said in Pakistan. But this guy and people like him, they are spreading lies about secularism. They are misinterpreting it. Now imagine that if Muslim want secularism in Islamic countries, if Hindus want Hindutva or Hinduism, or a purely Hindu government in India, what will happen? Some mullah in the past have clearly said that they damn care about Muslims living in India. So it means that if a Hindu ideology says that Muslims should be relegated to the status of Shudar and Malik, or the untouchable, so it means that if there is a Hindu government in India, more than 200 million Muslim will be relegated to the status of Malik, Shudar, or untouchable. They would be second class citizen. So this is what people like Sahil, Ladim want Muslim to be in that situation. They want them to be a second class citizen in non-Muslim country. So secularism simply tells you that if you want to make it to senior government post, or you want to be prime minister or president, if people vote you, you can do that. For civil service, there is a certain criteria. If you meet that criteria, you can make it. So we have to understand it, and we have to understand this phenomenon that our salvation lies in aligning with secular forces in Western society. And all those Islamists and people like Sahil Adeem, who spit venom against secularism, who lie about secularism, we need to check their lies. Now, come to his lies that he uttered during this lecture. He talked about Nicaea, uh, the meeting of Nicaea. Now, while talking in London, he said that all the things that he said, they are like discredited and they are not new. For instance, he said that this world is an illusion. This is more Platonic and Hindu ideas. Like Hindu also believe that this world is Maya, and Platonic idea is also more or less same. He believes that Deen and Dunya are not separate. This is secularism. And where does he see the origin of secularism? Again, complete lie. He said it started with the meeting of Nicaea, the Council of Nicaea. Now, and then he said that the meeting of Nicaea or the Council of Nicaea was held in 285 AD. In reality, it was held in 325. And then he said that during that time, the emperor called all the priests saying the church should be separate, the state should be separate. And then he quoted the same. In reality, it was a famous saying of Christ that was quoted in Luke, in Matthew also, and in other. So he said, no, the emperor called priest and separated church and the state, which is absolutely lie. The meeting of Nicaea was primarily meant to hammer out differences, or sort out differences between Arian Christianity, who did not believe in complete holiness of Christ, or who believed that he was created, and Roman Catholic, who had the opposite view. So, so that is completely lie. Then he attributed this famous saying of Christ, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's. It was quoted in Matthew, and it was, according to Christian historian, it was also quoted in Luke 20 to 25. Render to Caesar what is Caesar. It's a well known quote. It was said by Christ. He says that it was said by, Constantine. So, like, this is an outright lie. And this person does not know this is very famous saying of Christ. And he is scholars and a motivational speaker. And what was the background? It has nothing to do with Roman emperor. What was the background? There was a certain sect of the Jews called Herodians. They were non-religious Jews who supported the dynasty of Herod and the general policy of Roman government. They were close to. They perceived that Christ's pure and spiritual teaching and influence were antagonistic to their interests. Then there was another group, Pharisees. On the other hand, were members of an ancient Jewish sect who believed in the strict observance of oral traditions and written law of Moses. So this is the background of this saying, which Sahil Adeem did not mention. So according to Christian historian, these Pharisees didn't believe that Christ was the Messiah despite his many miracles during his earthly ministry, although Herodians and Pharisees were at opposite ends of the political spectrum. Their common hatred of Christ was enough for them to join forces to try to destroy him. So this was the background. It has nothing to do. Both of these groups wanted to put Christ in trouble, and according to Christian writer, Jesus commanded to render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's. It's in Matthew 22, also in Luke. Jesus had just returned to Jerusalem, um, Jerusalem for the final time, and recently finished sharing several parables with the crowd Jesus' enemies saw an opportunity to put Jesus on the spot in front of his followers. In verse 17, they say to Jesus, "Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" So they were basically asking whether they should be paying taxes to Caesar. It has nothing to do with, Roman emperor that Sahil Adeem is talking about. It was a trick question, and they knew it. If Jesus answered no, the Herodians would charge him with treason against Rome. If he said yes, the Pharisees would accuse him of disloyalty to the Jewish nation, and he would lose the support of the crowds. To pay taxes or not to pay taxes? The question was designed as a catch. Now, according to Christian sources, Jesus' response is nothing short of brilliant, but Jesus, aware of their malice, said, "Why put me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for the tax." And they brought him a denarius. And then he said that, give whatever belongs to uh, the emperor, and give whatever belongs to God. So that was the context. The purpose of this, that this guy has resorted to outright lies, historical distortion, and he has been spitting venom against secularism in a way, and he has come up with hardcore interpretation of religion. I'm sorry. He believes in conservative of interpretation of the religion that has been imposed by Afghan Taliban. I mean, he has clearly said that 4 year girls can be married off. So, how many Muslim British women would want their 4 year girls to be married off? He did talk about that consummation might take place later. He wants all women to be covered from head to toe, like more or less in shuttlecock. While there are thinkers who believe that that's not the case, right? The real parda, the real veil, is in your eyes, is in your heart, that you should not cast any evil eye. So, how many British Muslim women want, shuttlecock, or they want to be covered from head to toe? Then he believes that Taliban have imposed Sharia. They have imposed a tyrannical rule. So I have stated these all lies because Muslims in Western world need to be aware of people like him who talk about global caliphate, who talk about hegemony. The far right in the UK has already been exploiting the statement or rhetoric of mullah who say that they would impose Sharia in Europe, relegating Christian and Jews to the status of second class citizen. Who is going to tolerate that? Imagine Pakistan has around 2% or 3% Christian. If they start saying that they want to impose Christianity in Pakistan, do you think that Pakistanis are going to tolerate that? Hindus are hardly 1% of Pakistan population, or even less than that. Do you think that if Hindus start saying in Pakistan that they would impose a Hindu system there? So Muslims are hardly 6% of Europe's population. The number may have risen, but this is the old statistics. So 6% population, if it says that it wants to impose Sharia on the, more than 500 million Europeans, and Europe is the region where Muslim and Christian have historical animosity. Do not forget that Muslim conquered Alexandria, one of the holiest places, Antioch, Odessa, Jerusalem, right? These all Coptic churches and churches of Maronite and Jacobite people, they were all conquered by Muslims. Some of the, then Hagia Sophia, one of the holiest places of Christianity, they were all conquered. They were knocking at the door of France, uh, and they were repulsed by Charles, one of the French rulers, if I can rightly recall, Charles Merton. And then the Ottomans were knocking at the door of Vienna. They conquered part of Europe as well. For a very long time, Europe was threatened by Ottoman Janissary force. Amidst this all, So there is a historical animosity. And then, of course, Muslim ruled in Al Andalusia for more than 700 years. They also had pockets or some city states in some other parts of Europe, uh, according to some historian in Italy as well. So this historical animosity is already there. The far right across Europe has already been propagating that Muslims are invading Europe. They want to conquer Europe. They want to establish their hegemony. Amidst this all, if people like Sahil Adeem, resort to outright, outright lies, historical distortion, spit venom against secularism, it means that they are jeopardizing the lives of Muslims. Therefore, British Muslims need to be aware of historical distortion of this guy's, his outright lies, and his bigotry that supports Afghan Taliban, that wants to put women in shuttlecock, that wants to impose a system like the one that Taliban have imposed, where women cannot get education. He might say he uh, idealizes people like Maulana Modudi, Dr. Israr Ahmed, and Ashraf Ali Thanvi. You can watch his video. He heaps eulogies on Ashraf Ali Thanvi, and Ashraf Ali Thanvi firmly believed that girls should not learn how to write. Later on, he relented, but he said that they should only write very, petty things. They should not be taught how to write. So he has very conservative ideas, and he wants to fool people by putting on branded dresses and all that. So please, British Muslims should be aware of his machinations. They should be aware of his conservative thoughts. Muslim world has already suffered a lot because of this conservative ideology. We have seen what happened in Syria, where more than 11 million people were rendered homeless. We have seen that in Iraq. Conflict in Iraq and Syria claimed more than 2 million lives, or at least more than 2 million people were affected. What happened in Libya, what happened in Afghanistan, it is all because of this conservative interpretation of Islam. And by the way, interestingly, this conservative interpretation of Islam emerged in the aftermath Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, and it was the United States and the Western countries that propagated this ideology. So this guy does not want to speak the truth. The United States and the West supported all Muslim fundamentalists, Ikhwan al-Muslimin in Egypt, Mastumi in Indonesia, Ayatollah Kashani in Iran, Hizb Islami in Afghanistan, and by the way, Hizb Islami leader Gulbuddin Hikmatyar, according to his detractors, uh, tried to throw acid towards the face of a woman in Kabul University. This is just a claim of his critics. But of course, they did not want women to be educated, and you can see today what Afghan Taliban are doing. So, this conservative interpretation of religion is a recipe for disaster, and this guy, Sahil Ladim, is also propagating the same conservative interpretation that was propounded by people like Maulana Modudi, Ashraf Ali Thanvi, Ahmad Raza Khan Sahib Barelvi, and other people. So, therefore, British Muslims need to be aware of this guy and his rhetoric.